Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Since I haven't done a what sold video for you in like 2.5 months, I'm gonna just go through my top 25 things that I thought were worth doing. Had something interesting to say about anyway. So with no further ado, let's get into that. All right, I thought I'd bring you along for this because I thought it was kind of interesting. This is above the toilet cabinet, and this is like a towel rack. I am in the laundry room. You guys have seen this in a video before where I cleaned shoes and I cleaned a hat in here. Anyway, my ring light, I lost the cord for it when I was cleaning some stuff. It got put somewhere, I can't find it. In the laundry room, we have a daylight light bulb. So this is, also we're doing laundry and so there's the noise of the dryer. Anyway, let me get to my point. So this is the shot. But if I move up a little bit, you can see the laundry room. I wanted the books to be standing up. So back here is some laundry pre-treater. There's baby shoes. And this is like just a $3 piece of cardboard from Walmart, but it makes a nice white background. You don't have to do a huge professional setup in order to get nice pictures. You need a nice, solid, clean white background and a decent color light. Daylight bulbs make a big difference on your ability to take pictures. So I'll show you over here the pictures that I achieved from this setup. Yeah, just innovate and figure out how to get nice daylight color light and a white background in your space. All right, so you guys know I like to sell hats a lot.
I sold a hat.
Because they're easy to photograph, they are generally fairly cheap, they sell quick, and this one is no exception to any of that. This was a Consolidated Freightways hat that I picked up for $2.99 at Goodwill, and it sold the same day for $28.99. Denim snapbacks. If they aren't new, then they're probably going to sell pretty easily. This was an item I picked up at a charity thrift store that's local here, and these like fake wood handled flatware sell pretty well, especially in, this isn't a complete set, but it's a decent sized lot. If you've only got 3 or 4 pieces, you might have a little trouble getting them to move very quickly, but 18 pieces, I paid $8.99 if memory serves, and I sold it within a couple of hours of listing. I think I listed it like right before I went to bed, and it sold before lunch the next day, so less than 24 hours, and sold for $37.99 plus shipping. Buyer was $55 all in. So keep an eye out for these. They're considered mid-century modern. There's a couple of brands. This one was Interper. I know Eterna, I want to say, is one, like He-Man. Anyway, they're stainless steel, and they've got the pressed wood handles. They generally sell pretty well. Okay, back on the subject of hats.
I sold a hat.
I was quite surprised by this one. I picked it up for $1 at an estate sale, and it was not a standard bill hat. Look at the picture. The bill is like crazy long, and I knew that that had something to do with fishing. And I was like, for $1, I'm going to give it a shot. This vintage Peterman hat sold as soon as I got it listed for $35 plus shipping. It had some kind of small condition issue. Some of them were selling as high as $50 plus shipping. And I was like, well, I'll mark it a little bit lower, and I probably shouldn't have. It sold super fast. So if you see these long bill fishing hats, I would pick them up. I've never not sold one. I've never had one sit for very long. They may not all be that high of money, but that one sold real quick and probably could have sold for more. So look into them if you see them. They look just crazy. I don't fish, so I don't know why you would want that necessarily, but evidently it's a thing that fishermen are looking for and paying decent money for. This one is probably something you guys already know about, but I just want to brag about it. I was fortunate enough to run into 27 Babysitters Club books at the Goodwill, and kids' books there are 50 cents a piece. So 27, do the math real quick, 12, 13, like $14. I'm into these, $13.50. Anyway, and I got them listed. What was really good was that they were 7 through 31, and then there was a 38 and a 68. But that huge run out of the middle of that lot helped get these to sell quicker, I suspect. But Babysitters Club is on fire right now.
Liquid hot magma.
So you should definitely be picking that up if you see them. I would even pick them up ones and twos at garage sales, and if I get 10 in a pile, I'll put them together. Sold for $55 plus shipping within a day. These sold within 24 hours. So that's definitely something worth picking up. This is an item that I picked up at a thrift store for $3. It was a long story. I found 2 shirts at this thrift store, and that was all that I found to buy. I went up to the register, and the guy behind me, for whatever reason, decided to set his football that he was buying on the counter, walk away, and then I walked up, and then he got in line behind me. And so the lady charged me, I want to say $2 a piece for the shirts and $1 for the football, which put me at $6 for the 2 shirts. And I walked away. I got to the door and the lady's like, "Sir, you forgot your football." I was like, "I didn't buy that football." And she's like, "Well, I charged you for it." And I was like, "Keep it as a donation or just give it to the guy behind me in line that wanted it." The $1 is not worth the time that it would take to figure out getting $1 back from a charity thrift store over an honest mistake. So I bought somebody else a football, or I donated $1. But at any rate, I found this really good Toy Story 3 promo t-shirt. And I knew it was good. I didn't know how good it was. I had it listed at $99, and I just kind of kept trickling the price down until I sent somebody an offer of $68.39, which must have been a percentage off. And I think it was like, I put it down at 20% off. I thought it would move really, really fast. And so I had a bunch of watchers, and rather than sending out offers, I went in Markdown Manager and marked it down 20%. And then it still didn't go at what I guess would have been $79.99. So then I sent out, I think, 10% offers on that. And that's how we landed at whatever this $68.39. Maybe it was 15 and 5. Anyway, we landed at almost $70 on this shirt, and it was in fantastic condition and sold. I mean, I don't know why I was in such a push to get this particular item sold. I only owned it for 3 or 4 weeks, and I went from 99 to 69, but only paid $3 for it. So A, I'm not hurt on my dollar, that whatever the deal was with that football, and B, I got it a lot of profit, even though I marked it down tremendously to get there. The last video I showed you guys some Red Wing boots that sold, that were a moldy, gross mess. These are some crazy looking Jordans. They were Dub Zero, and they were a small size. I put them as a women's 7.5, even though they're men's or they're men's 7.5, but I included women's size 9 because they're pink and they're small, and so I think they're probably more likely to appeal to a woman, and so I wanted to just open the market up that way because women probably aren't generally searching for 7.5 size men's shoes. Maybe they are in Jordans. It doesn't matter. Not a lot. Anyway, they were covered in tar, so I picked them up, and I picked them up at Goodwill for $6.99. They were in bad shape. I'll show you some pictures. But that Angelus cleaned these up, not perfectly, because the tar had discolored. I got the tar off of the midsole and that leather white patch with the threads, but it had done some damage. They were stained, and so they sold for $25 free shipping. I marked them at $24.99, thinking, well, they're small and they're damaged, and I only have $7 in them. Well, I paid $7, and then I paid $8 to ship them. So, and fees. I don't think I promoted that listing. So I didn't end up making very much money on them, and I worked really hard on them. That was not the best. I probably should have marked them higher and waited, but I'm marking things pretty low because I've got to start turning over inventory. My death pile is 3 times what my listed items are, so I've really got to get on the stick about getting things listed and sold so that I get that money coming back in, and so that I'm not drowning in death pile. Let's talk about promoted listings.
Just a minute. eBay gives you the opportunity to pay them more money. But when you pay them more money, you are paying for them to basically advertise on Google for you. And so I did, for a long time, I didn't promote anything. And then I started promoting at the suggested rate. And that was working out really well, but my fees were really high because it was trending rate 7, 8, 9% on everything. So then I stopped promoting everything again, and my sales dipped. Now I'm promoting everything at 2%, everything across the board 2%. And I seem to still be getting a lot of promoted listing sales. And the promoted listing sales are basically people who are finding that not on eBay. So while you probably would sell that item without promoting it, it would probably take longer. And 2%, even of a $100 item, is $2, and that is well worth the investment. And if it sells to an eBay customer who isn't searching for it off-site, then you don't pay that fee. So I think this 2% is a spot that I'm going to stick at for a while because it seems to work super well. And I know there's 100 different people with 100 different opinions on promoted listings, and I've tried it back and forth a whole bunch of ways, and I think at least for me, that's what works, is promoting things at 2%. And maybe you try 3%, maybe you try 1%. But 2 is where I decided to try, and it seems to work fairly well for me.
I was at an estate sale the other day. Books were all $2 a piece, and they had the entire Harry Potter series. So I picked it up. And there's 7 books, so I paid $14. It sold in 3 or 4 days for $60, and none of them were first presses or first editions or anything. Just the Harry Potter series in hardback. And one of my boys asked me, "What if we got all of the DVDs?" And I thought, man, you see those DVDs a lot for 50 cents or $1, and if you collected the whole lot, you'd probably do fairly well. Panasonic. Tape deck. This was right beside those Harry Potter books, and it was $2. And I have never bought a Walkman. This is a Panasonic variety, and Walkman is Sony, but I've never bought one that actually worked. This one, the only issue with it was that, like, when you switch between the radio and the cassette, like, if you weren't really careful, it would turn off. There was some kind of short in that switch. Otherwise, it played at a good tempo. I mean, it played the songs right on the tape. It did the auto switch thing. The radio worked fine. There wasn't any corrosion in the battery case. And this thing sold for $50 in a couple of hours. That Panasonic is a really sought-after one, and it was in reasonably working condition. That thing will sell for $30 totally not working, and it'll sell for 75 or 80 working. I got a bunch of VHS at the thrift store the other day for like a quarter. I think it was the Lethal Weapon series, which doesn't sell particularly well, but when I'm buying them for a quarter, so I'm 75 cents, there's 4 of them, so I was $1 into the lot, and they sell for like $8 for the lot, but they sell reasonably quickly. plus shipping. So I'm making a couple bucks on my dollar investment. But these ones came with in these shells that you pinch and take the movie out that came from Hollywood Video. And 2 of these 3 were marked Hollywood Video. And they sold for $19.99 for just the clamshells or something. Protectors, anyway. You guys. Say hi, Caleb.
Hi.
This is Caleb. You guys know Caleb.
Dad, I pooped on the potty.
You pooped on the potty on YouTube?
No.
Okay, so moving on. This Harley Davidson jacket was $50 at the thrift store. And I thought, man, should I spend $50? But this is the kind of thing that you pay up for. And I've been doing a lot more paying up for stuff because a $50 leather jacket that sells in 2 weeks for $125, that's pretty good. And that was plus shipping. $125 for this jacket, and I paid $50 for it. It was a 1998 Harley Davidson 95th anniversary jacket, so it was kind of a limited edition thing, and it was vintage and labeled as such. A whole bunch of these, and I'll just throw them all up right now. My wife was going through the garden shed that we haven't really gone through much yet in this house that we moved into a year and a half ago. And she found a coffee can full of these like Cesar Chavez, United Farm Workers, Democrat buttons. Like the guy who used to live here is a very prominent politician in Central Illinois. And so he evidently, when he was a younger man, was heavily involved with the Farm Workers Union stuff. And this is a very heavy farm area. And so I found a coffee can full of buttons. And so I pulled them apart and divided them out, and and then I started comping them, and they were like $8, $10 a piece for some of them. And then in that, I found this, which I thought was super interesting, a delegate ribbon for a conference in 1975 and a necklace and I couldn't find either of them on comps. I couldn't find any record of either of those things existing on the internet. And so like I couldn't know what comps were. There wasn't anything similar. And so I listed them at $125. And they sat for like 24 hours, and then I got a couple of watchers. And then somebody made me an $85 offer. And keep in mind, I have nothing in these things. And I felt like, man, these are rare enough that if somebody's willing to pay $85, they'd probably be willing to pay more than that. And so I countered at $115 and said, these haven't been listed very long. They're rare as they can possibly be. I really would rather not take less than $115. I don't want to come off of my asking price very much because I feel like it's a fair price. He came back at $95, and I was like, I would be a fool to let $95 go in order to make another $10 on something I have for free. Let's just take the money and run. But then the rest of the buttons haven't sold, but I've been selling the buttons in these small lots because there was a bunch that I had 7 of this one and 8 of that one and 9 of this one and 6 of that one. And so I did lots where, you get one of each of the kinds that I had. And they're selling for 5 for $40 or a couple of lots that were like 10 for $70. And they're selling. I'm pleasantly surprised. This was a bear to ship. I picked this up. You guys, if you've been with the channel for a while, you may remember that last summer I hit a garage sale a couple of times and got to know the people, and they were selling me all kinds of stuff. I was coming home with really cool stuff, pretty regular, but I got a huge pile of horror posters and movies. But this poster is super rare for a couple of reasons. It is from 1993, pre-release of the movie, and it has a yellow sun as opposed to having the red sun with the yellow line. And this one has never been opened and never been rolled, never been folded. So I had it listed for $185 for a year. And I had a bunch of people trying to, but shipping it, it's, what is it, 20, I think standard movie poster size is 40 by 27. And you can't roll it or fold it to make it ship cheaper, because that's part of the appeal, is that it's still brand new. And so this buyer is $243 all in. And then I had to figure out a way to ship that. So what I did was I went to Lowe's and I got the big boxes, and I sandwiched, like I put it inside one, and then I opened the other one on the end and sandwiched it over top of that. And then I had a friend who had just bought a TV when I got this, and I knew it was going to be a bear to ship, and he gave me the TV box. And so that TV's come in a really, really thick cardboard. So I took that TV box and cut it down to go around this. And it ended up costing me $35 to ship to him in New York City. But it was, I paid $10 for it plus fees plus $35 shipping. So I'm like $50, $60 all in. And so I made like over $100 on that, but it took me a year to do it. Speaking of horror things that sell well, this game from 1964, man, you'll have to forgive my nose. It wasn't stuffed up when I started talking, but evidently I'm allergic to you guys. This is Bats in Your Belfry, which is a super rare game, and in nice shape. It sells for crazy money. This box, it wasn't roach infested when I got it. But you could tell that it had been sitting somewhere where bugs had been eating on it some. It only had two claws, and the point of the game is you put a bunch of bats on the top of the tower and you press a button, and then they pop up in the air and you're supposed to catch them with the hands. But it only had one bat that you would catch. The tower thing had a broken button. It had the two hands and the box that was in bad shape. And it still sold for $54.99, and the guy got it yesterday and left me positive feedback. It's a super rare game, so keep an eye out for that one. Now we're getting into things that sold very recently. That Bonk's Adventure that came with the TurboGrafx 16 that I got in the last video sold for $59.99, sold super fast. I've had this REO Speedwagon 1991 tour t-shirt for a long while, but it eventually did sell for $35.99 plus shipping. I found this, I underpriced this for sure. This probably 80s, it's not dated, Harley Davidson long sleeve shirt, but it's from the 80s and it's a medium, which makes it smaller than a modern men's small. And so it's a really small shirt. It's like a youth XL in its actual measurements as compared to a shirt today. Long sleeve, Harley Davidson, but it's not 3D emblem. It's by a company called Funwear. It had a nice print on it, but comps were not super solid, like $40 tops. And like the ones that had from this company that had Bugs Bunny and Taz and were men's 2X were like $80, but this was none of that. And so I priced it at $27.99 and it sold in like 5 minutes. So I feel like maybe I underpriced it, but also maybe just somebody found it who wanted it and I priced it reasonably. My Harley shirts really aren't selling high, even the vintage ones. This one I thought was super cool. It's from Brussels, and it's a 2X from 2000. It has a really cool dragon on it, and I had it listed for $60 and then $40, and I've had it for 8 months probably, and then eventually it did sell for $22.99 free shipping. And I mean, I think I paid $222 for it when Goodwill was doing all their shirts at $222. So it's not like I didn't make money, but I'm not making a killing. They're not selling as well as I kind of expect them to, or they used to. But I'm not buying them so high that I have to rely on them selling at the top of the market, and that's a big part of my business model. Is I buy super crazy low so that if something doesn't sell where I expect it to, I still make money when it does sell. Another TurboGrafx game sold for $25. I had it listed for $33, and it had 2 watchers, and I sent out offers of $29.99 and or $28.99, something that would have been right about 10%. And the guy came back at me and said, "Would you take 25?" And I'm like, "Okay." He came back at me, and it was a 48-hour offer. Offers don't last forever on eBay. And I waited until the very end, and no other offers came in, and I didn't get any more watchers. And I thought, well, $25 is actually good for that game. There weren't very many listed on eBay, and the sold comps were between 20 and 40 and kind of all over the place. And I thought $25 is where the pricecharting.com price would have been on that. So that's a fair offer, and I don't have any more interest, and I'll just move it quick. Found this for $2.99. It's an unopened toner cartridge from Canon. Do not buy the ones that are off-brand. Don't buy them if they're open. But this one was sealed, Canon brand, and it had a huge dent in the box. And the comps were something like $55. So I marked it at $47.99, thinking I'm at the bottom of the market. And it has a dent in it, so kind of compensating for that. And it took 2 days to sell. I thought it would sell in 12 hours, but because toner sells crazy fast if it's the right thing. Couple more. You guys with me? You sticking in there? Couple more. I said I was going to do 25. I just started talking, and here we are. I don't know how many I've done. This Boy Scouts hat was $3.78, which stuck with me because it's a really odd price. And I only had it for a couple of days. I suspect that it's a Stetson, but it isn't marked as such. Stetson did make these hats. It looks like a mounted police hat to me, but this one is BSA, Boy Scouts of America. I paid $4 for it. It sold within a week for $44.99. I picked up this shirt, the flag, stripes on one side and stars on the other, for $3.99. We were somewhere else. I think we were in Indiana. And it sold for $24.99. And I realized when it sold that I misspelled the title of the item. So be careful. Check, spell check yourself. Reedhead is not the name on this shirt. It's a redhead from Bass Pro. But with 4th of July coming up, I knew that shirt wouldn't last through the 4th of July. I sold the Sportsman Glass Coleman lantern for $29.99. Now that is above the market for that lantern, but because the glass all by itself would sell for almost $20, but then the lantern wouldn't sell for more than 10 or 12 bucks without any glass in it. So I decided not to. I thought for a little bit about splitting them up, and I was like, the lantern wouldn't be worth much without the glass. And so taking that special glass that would sell out of it would devalue the lantern too much, and it just wouldn't be worth it. So I just marked it up. I sold it at the lantern price and marked it up with a little bit of a premium for the specialty glass, and that strategy worked. Last thing, this Drew Pearson brand Bulls hat from the 90s. I had it marked at $90 for a long, long, long time, and sat on it and came down a little bit, and then I listed it on Depop, and I didn't actually want to sell it. You guys know I'm a Bulls fan, and I like to have old vintage stuff, and this was sitting in my shop, and it didn't really matter to me whether or not it sold. And then this guy came at me with a $39.99 offer after I had marked it. It got caught on a markdown, and it was at like $69.99. And I was like, that's probably the best offer that I've had. Let me see if I can get him to come to $45. So it sold for $44.99. And I have like $2 or $3 into it. Kind of probably should have just kept it. But 45 is a totally fair offer. Totally fair price on that hat. And it's going to Canada.
Hi, Mommy.